Yo, what's up? This is Sane, and we're going to do a third-person tutorial here. So I don't know how long this video is going to be, but this is the same map where we set up our first-person tutorial. And we're going to carry it on from here. We're going to be pretty much making this. Okay, so this is going to be the menu system, of course, but it could be any menu that you want. You can go watch my previous video, I'll link in the description, and at the end of the video, and at the beginning of the video, there's going to be a card that will link you to the tutorial section. Okay, so we are going to select the new game character, which is going to be our ball here, a sphere. Alright, and this is going to be the third person setup we're going to use. So this is a sphere, and we find the sphere under Trials Fusion, under boxes, under spheres. There's different types of spheres that you could use. And you can use whatever sphere you'd like under any of these objects. As long as it's a sphere, it's a sphere. Same thing applies to the settings. Make sure your sphere is whatever calling range it needs to be. Right. I put my sphere, this sphere, up to 500 kilograms, 95 friction. I didn't mess any of these settings on. Didn't mess with any of these settings. We're gonna have our own custom sound, fast object, yes. And we'll test out the speed of the object and everything. And then after that tutorial is done, we're gonna make another type of third person and then another type of third person as well. Okay, so we're gonna start with the beginning part of this tutorial, which is we're going to do the third person setup. So this is the same skill game, except we're going to switch the game character. We're gonna say select new game character, and that's going to be the ball. Well, the ball is going to be our new game character, okay? So we're going to set up some tool cards. I do remember this setup here. This is going to be the same tool cards as last time. It's going to be starting with an interval trigger. But before we even start that, which I'll name in the video, is we're going to have to turn off this. So if you watch the menu setup from the previous video, which we'll not do in this video, is we're going to select a new physical character, which is the ball, right? And then a new camera is actually going to be another camera over here when we set it up. Yeah, so that's just the menu. The menu is pretty easy. If you know the editor, you know what's going on here. For sure. This is just the menu, all the menus and stuff. The inverts are pretty much all the same. We're going to tie the inverts with this rig, And we're going to tie all the inverts with this rig. So back to this first person setup right here. We're going to have 4 OPs. We're going to have 2 set value events. Both set to decrease. And we're going to have a filter. Set to false. We're going to have 2 of these generic filters actually. One to lock the horizontal axis and one to lock the vertical. We're going to link all these together. And then we're going to have more set value events. Make sure these are all untrue. Make sure you have a few variable data sources here. This one is going to be calculating the vertical axis, which is this one. And then this one's going to be calculating the horizontal axis, which is this one. And same thing with this one. We got to position the vertical axis. One's going to do the horizontal axis. We're going to have the mathematical equation here. I have another mathematical equation here. And I have another mathematical equation up here and up here. We're going to have another variable data source here and here. This is for the invert. You guys know this already. And then our chess piece event. Gonna be the right stick horizontal value, right stick vertical, and this one's horizontal. And it has to be the right stick, so Right stick horizontal, and then right stick vertical. This controls the 3D camera. Now this locks the camera. Okay, we will not be touching this, but I'm going to show you an example how this locks the camera. So I'm probably going to say, I'm actually going to go see here what it does here. So this one is going to be greater. -85 looking up, so that's -90 is straight up. One's going to be less. It's +40, less +40. Same thing with that one. Now this one I guess can be whatever, I guess. Greater, or yeah, greater, negative. Gonna be less. +30. Negative and positive. Pretty easy. I'm just be looking at this side by side. Alright, so we're going to be doing all that. We forgot to do the X, Y, and Z setup. Down here, the main X, Y, and Z setup. Super easy. And then we're gonna set up the gravity or the speed of the character. It has to be left stick vertical and left stick horizontal. Gonna have another mathematical event change here. This is gonna pretty much be the same. It's gonna be vertical and then boom. multiply. And our speed is going to be the same speed as the other one. We're probably going to do a little bit more. Select object instances, which is that. Actually, since we're going to do two game characters, we're going to do this. Select object instances to this, and object types to this. Since we're going to test out two characters at the same time. And you can have, you can copy this whole thing and make another, like you can copy the whole rig and put the same thing for another one as well, which is easier. Or you can merge them both together, it's your choice. But really, you can't merge them both together, so let's just not confuse you guys. And just say this, and just do, we're gonna just work on this character for now. And then the end will be a bonus thing. So this is for someone who wants to make it for a third person setup. Of course my controller would have died. Fuck. Run them back. Okay, well, that's what we were doing. So that's going to be our movement. It's going to be everything that's set up here. We're going to connect the portal system to our thing. If you want to know how to set up a portal system, it's pretty easy. Just follow along through here. Make sure your Your thing is at 50 milliseconds. Make sure this is this. We'll come back to this though. Third person setup is we're gonna keep doing this all the way until we're done. So you guys don't get confused. It's pretty easy. Just that's all the tool cards you really need. Now we're just gonna combine them together. I'm gonna go back and forth through my third person setup. Okay. So you just gotta do X with your X, Y with your Y, and Z with your Z. Make sure you say operand 1. So combines. This is for like following things underneath your game character. You can set this to whatever you want and test it. This could also be for your jump button if you want as well. So if you want to add like a little jump button, you can add like an invisible thing and then animate it based on a certain function. You could also do that as well. Now we're going to look at this part again. Y and your Z. That one. So again, we're going to say local X, Y, Z, 90. And yaw is going to be this one. We're going to make sure, is this local? No, this one has to be local or it doesn't work. This one right here. This one's got to be, you don't need that one. And we're going to go back and see which one is which. Okay, so pretty much what's going to happen here is this one we just select, the one who has none, no function, is going to calculate this one. Is the vertical and lock it to here. I'm going to take that and lock it to there. Right, I don't know why it's doing that. Well, I don't think this matters, but I'm going to say operand 2, 1. swap them. Guessing what's happening here is I never assigned these ones yet, so we never even set that up yet. Make sure you set those to multiply. Make sure the decreases are on like that. I'm gonna go to the other OPE now. 1 X, X, your Y is your Y, and your Z is your Z. Top 1, then 90. X, your Y, and then your Z. Go back here and see what is going on. This is subtract. Operand 1 going to be over here, and this is subtract. Operand 1 over here. Subtract 90. So it should be positive 90 and subtract 90, you see? Simple. X is your X, your Y is there, your Z is your Z, your yaw, and then your pitch. So this is going to be your camera. Y is your Y, your X is your X, your Y is your Y, and your Z is your Z. Yaw is... Totally forgot, I think your yaw is your yaw, and your pitch is your pitch. Could be wrong though, I'm going to double check. Camera here. I'm going to put your camera above here because we're going to do some animations up here. Make sure your operand 1 is your Y. I'm going to add 2 of the right. That's going to be your camera. This is going to be your camera. All right. We're going to have an orbital camera there. Now we're going to go back and see about the yaw. Yaw is there and your pitch is there. Okay. Yaw and then pitch. I think that's about it. I think we're done. No, we're not done. We got it correct actually. See what this one does. So this one selects that one, the vertical, and this one selects the horizontal, which is the subtract one. Subtract is horizontal. Subtract is horizontal. And the other one is vertical. What is going on? I am so confused. What is going on right now? I am very, very confused. This. It's this the whole time? I think these are wrong then. Less and then greater. Less. Same thing with this one. Less. Much better. You gotta find out what's wrong, I guess, right? So I just fixed the mistake. Okay, so this is supposed to lock your your vertical, and we're gonna make a third-person camera now. I'm gonna grab a custom camera. This is not gonna be the game camera because that will glitch out the map thing. And here its settings are off. We're gonna grab a glue tool. A lot of people's like, why don't you make a no clipping camera? And I would say, I think that's impossible in the trials editor, really, because you can put a physical object following the camera, right? And it will be too janky. I don't know how big this adjust is, but this is going to be the third person camera. I call this the orbital camera. You can create multiple orbital cameras as well. You can create an orbital camera that goes back a little bit more as well. But you also got to make sure that the orbital camera is always auto-centering to the very center. So it's straight, so it's not janky again. So this one, it looks like it's in the center. I believe this one's in the center as well, but it could be wrong. Scratch that. I think I am wrong. Scratch that completely. I'm going to take this camera, move it back. And it's in the center of the other camera. Looks like they are parallel from each other. make sure both of these cameras hold the button to select an entire glue group, and make sure that the collision is off for this. This is the only physical area. So we're going to start. We are going to disable this. We're going to disable this. We're going to disable this. Don't follow this. This is just for me. Ignore all that. So what we got to do now is adjust the new camera from the main menu. The new camera is going to be this camera. Adjust it. Press start. Okay, do you see here? Our thing is locked. Do you see that? Our ball moves just fine. The problem is our horizontal axis is locked. So that tells you that the locking is working. We are not going to use this. But just giving you an example there that the locking works. We want to move 360 degrees rotation. Okay, so what we want to do here is the camera, or up and down, has got to be different. So again, what we're going to do here from the inversion settings is we're going to grab this one, inverts our horizontal. So we're not going to hit X because we're going to disable the other one. So we're just going to select our horizontal axis, which is this one. So we can invert the horizontal axis, and this one's going to invert the vertical axis. There we go. Now it's moving, but problem is we got to adjust this to make sure it fits a first person thing. So this one should be, I would say, 1 or -1, and this one should be -1. This one should be 90. Or even better, what I like to say is -85. In case you go overboard. Or you can say -89 or whatever floats your boat. So when we go down, it only goes down to this range. Right? And then we can go up, it locks at this range. We can go 360 degrees both directions. If we invert the sticks, it's different. The ball keeps going, but problem is it's kind of bad because we never adjusted the gravity for it. So we go this way and we go that way. We go this way, we go that way. So let's adjust it to be more controllable. Okay, let's say we adjust our ball to have 50% linear damping, and let's just say 30% or 20% linear damping. It's a 500 weight of the gravity. Make sure we disable world gravity. We're gonna say -500 gravity. Let's see what happens there. Now it's sliding a bit. So we're going to say, don't touch this. We're not going to touch that either. The mass is 500 kilograms. So let's see what the hell's going on here. Maximum control. Looks like there's a lot of friction. Do you see? It looks like we're on ice. We don't want that. Well, let's raise the friction meter a bit up more. Make it 1000 to see if we can play around with the value a little bit more. That's a little bit too... So right here... It's good, and then it's bad at the same time. We're going to put a little bit more gravity to see what we get. It's all about trial and error, really, if you want to get the best movement out of your character. Okay, so we made that a little bit better. See, we have a bit more control when it comes to the character. You see that? Now, if you increase the player speed, you should have a little bit more control. So we're going to increase the player speed to about 680. We're going to go by 80s. Or by 100s in the 680, 180, and just keep going. Now we should move a little bit faster and have more control. Do you see how we have more control of the character? But we have a little bit of leeway, so the ball rolls, but then it takes a little bit more time to stop. You see, that's why I have more of a realistic motion on the ball. You can test it back and forth a little bit. Back and forth, but there's a little bit less leeway, so let's have a little bit more control over the ball by decreasing the weight value to 200. 200, see what that does. More control, do you see that? We have way more control this time. We can stop it immediately. Problem is the weight of the character. We're now flying. We don't want it to fly. We want it to have a more of a realistic movement. We're going to have that with custom gravity. So our custom gravity is going to be a linear data source, variable data source, by another variable data source. Our start value is going to be the object gravity, but the object gravity, the custom gravity, is going to be based off this, based on terminal velocity. It's going to be off for now. The starting gravity, though, is going to be negative 3000. And then I'm going to take 1 second to reach negative 30,000. Negative 30,000. We're going to create a jump real soon. We're going to have 2 hit triggers. Combine this to the ball. Make sure they're disabled off. Every time we jump, we're going to do stuff so we don't fly across the map. We're going to change 2 values for sure. So this one's going to be on hit, and this one's going to be on leave whenever we leave the surface, which is this custom surface right here, or even the floor. Custom surface. Custom surface or the ground. Okay, so on leave, we're going to say On leave, we're probably going to say our speed is going to be it's going to be 380. On hit, it's going to go back to, how much was it again? 580. $680. 680 news. And then our gravity is going to be a little bit different on hit and then on leave, which is this one. On leave and on hit. So our on leave is going to be on leave when we leave the floor. We're gonna start at, instead of being at negative 3,000, we're gonna start at negative 6,000. And then when we hit the floor, it's going to go back to negative 3,000. That value there. I don't think we need this value, but we'll see. We have a more controlled gravity when we leave. So now we have a more controlled gravity. Do you see that? So the problem there is, let's try to tweak our angular damping to about 10 and our linear damping to about 20. Much better. You see them? Now it stops. Moves, stops. Move, stops. Now we have a more realistic based movement. You can go all the way and then stop immediately. Go all the way, stop immediately. You see we have a more controlled movement of our third person character. Now be careful with the terrain, but I think the camera should be fine when it comes to the terrain and stuff. Now we're going to add a jump button. So give yourselves a pat on the back. We did the third person tutorial, only took less than an hour. So we're going to save it to 123 FPS here. So it's pretty simple, actually, if you follow along. So this is set to -1. You can set this to 0 to go even downer to the camera, which we're probably going to do 0. And then this one 0 to see what it does. So if we wanted to show the whole ball when we go down like this, right? There's a way to do that. We're going to edit our FOV on this side of the spectrum, right? So we're going to disable the FOV for this side. And just say, copy this whole thing. Or actually even better, maybe if you're watching this first time, you want to know how buttons work. So we're going to go to the left stick here. I'm going to edit 3 different types of FOVs going back. Right, these 2 being off. On. We're gonna go to this one, this, and we're going to say select a variable data source. That's going to be our custom FOV. And then we're going to have a set value event. And it's going to be on Presto. So make sure every time you turn off this button, you turn off this button, and this button. Make sure you turn off this button and this button. And make sure you turn off this button, and this button. Turn off everything. Actually, no, don't turn off everything. Ignore what I said. There's a glitch sometimes, but just make sure you turn off these two buttons. Or you turn off these two buttons. And then you just turn off this single button. Possibly this button as well. And then keep sharing the impulse. We know that the camera's FOV is 57 by default. We can keep sharing the impulses upwards. So the last input here is going to be 57. So this one's probably going to be 47. No, this one's going to be 67. I think. Going to be 77. This one's going to go back to 57. Easy. So make sure your on is the next button. This button. And it's this button. Back to the original button. Make sure your FOVs are being constantly selected to these FOVs right here. And then make sure that each of these cameras FOVs tied to here. And then make sure as soon as you start the event, we have a fade from black to regular. And for the camera, in, start, exposures, settings. Make sure you go to the start event here, whatever start you want to do, and make sure your starting exposure goes from faded black from the main camera to the new camera. No, I'm wrong. Don't follow what I just did there. Don't select the camera. Select the script. Alright, now let's just check out our FOV. Hopefully I'm not going too fast here. You see, now you can move back. Now you can see your character in a more broader FOV. You can extend this back even more so that the camera is more FOV standard. Now we have a ball that moves exactly like a ball. But now we gotta make a jump button. This is when we move. Now we can jump up. Okay, let's adjust our gravity as well in 1 second. And this is where we screwed up as well. We never adjusted the gravity for the ball. Like the terminal velocity gravity. We adjusted the gravity, but not the terminal velocity gravity. So this is the on leave. right? So it's going to say on, and then the on hit off, which is going to play around with our terminal velocity gravity, which is going to start at 3,000. When we leave the floor, it automatically starts at 6,000, and it'll eventually go to 30,000. And I don't think we need that. So now when we drop off ledges, we should fall straight to the bottom now. You see, boom. Okay. Now when we leave, this is on leave, right? So on leave it should be on hit should be off, right? So it should work. And then reset when disabled, of course. Just in case it doesn't reset. Reset when disabled. So then you have a custom gravity now. So we're going to test that again. Now there should be no like constant going down. I think I made a mistake on my other map, which I gotta go fix, where I didn't reset when disabled. So every time you leave the floor, the gravity applies. So you have this smooth transition of back and forth more, but not directly. It just, you want to have a realistic roll as well, right? So you have that input lag, right? And that's all about the gravity. You want more, less control when you turn and stuff. Just up your gravity. Up, it's all about upping your gravity and downing your speed, and then you have less control of your ball. But I want to have a moderate control of my ball, so I'm good. Now we're gonna save again. You gotta keep on saving. Just under an hour here. We're gonna add a jump button to the ball now. So, okay, so this script right here is kind of useless. We're gonna make this the jump button. Okay. So we're going to select a variable data source right here. And then we're going to imagine something here. We're going to grab a invisible one of these. Right, this is going to be the jump button. We're going to set it to fast object because we don't want to go through this thing. We're going to grab another variable data source for the collision of the invisible thing. Invisible box here. Going to be the collision here. We're going to set this to 1. Or we're going to set this to 3 because we're not using it currently. And this is going to be the subtraction. Okay. So we're going to set up the jump button. So the jump button I want is the good old A button, which is RT as well. The A button, we want it off. We're going to turn it off from the menu, turn it on from the menu. Every time we enable a button, okay, turn it off. Okay. We're going to pretty much animate this object here. So right now, this object's going to be 0. We're going to see how it's 0. We're just going to take the object position, do that, and see where it goes underneath the player. That's not good at all. We're going to make this a little bit bigger. And then we're going to say negative 2. Just say -2. There should be -2 following the player at all times. Perfect. So we're going to say -1. -1 to that. Right? We're going to say on press, on past the interval. We're going to put another one here. That's going to say 1. This. Now we're going to grab both of these. We're going to call this one 3 negative. Call this one 3. We're going to call this one back to -2. We're going to say the interval delay between the jump is going to be 100 milliseconds. And then when we hit the floor, the jump is going to activate again. When we hit a jumping surface or whatever surface you'd like, the jump button will reactivate again. So it's a jump. We can also tie this to a double jump as well. 2. So the double jump is going to be off. Off. Okay. When we start the skill game, I'm going to turn on the button, of course. We can turn another jump on. Turn on this jumping after the second jump. Right now we're going to turn it off. And you can keep doing a double jump, a triple jump, a quadruple jump, a conveyor jump, whatever you want to do. You can have like a million different types of jumps after that. Yeah, we're going to test it out. Okay, so this is good, but it's bad. So every time we jump, we have to, let's say -40 and 400 milliseconds. And I think the reason why this is working is because we also got to say, okay, so we have 2 targets. So we have object types, we have the floor, now we have to do object instances. This is going to be a floor as well. So now it should work a little bit better now. Okay, that's a little bit wonky. So we're going to lower down this value. -200. How do I increase the jump? Well, when we got to play around with some settings here. We set the initial value to -150. Negative. See if that works though. Perfect. Of 150. I'm just trying to make sure this setup works with this current setup. There's a jump. What happens if I wanted to increase my jump? That's what I'm trying to figure out now. You probably want a different script for the jump, if I'm being honest here. This is not gonna work. So what I recommend is having a whole different script for the jump. This is just for the jump. You probably want to set to 680 or 580. So this is on leave. On leave, you probably want to set this to 3,500. From jumping, from dropping is going to be different, which probably is going to confuse this, but I think that's going to work a little bit better. No, it's going to be the same thing as the other script. So what we got to do is we got to say on leave, on hit, on. We're going to have to turn off these script. Right. Turn off that. I'm just gonna go back to the other strategy. Scrap this. we're gonna just say the base is that jump is too short. You can lower the gravities. It's all about playing around with the different gravities to get what you want. And maybe don't lower it this much. Maybe keep the momentum of the rider. And it's all about trial and error, really. To get what you want, really. And then you can also play around again with the damping settings and stuff. Have a more realistic approach. It takes so much work just to come back and forth and tweaking it. See, now I have a more controlled ball, a jumping mechanic. A little bit better. I'm going to raise the jump a little bit more. A 350 millisecond jump. That one feels a little bit wonky because it's something lifting my rider. Like a jump. Jump. Being lift up here, you see? You can try to use force as well, but I never had really success using force. I feel like for a jump, this would be a little bit better. I feel like this is a little, it looks too weird. I'm gonna lower it again. From 350 to 283. A little bit better. Maybe even raise this to about to 170 as well. You make some, like, I don't know, Marble Blast Ultra type of thing. But then you really have to mess with the gravity a little bit more. It's all about trial and error with the gravity. Really. I'm just showing you how to put it together. And then you can just play around with all the different gravity settings, having your own custom linear damping, your own custom friction, whatever you'd like. Whatever you'd like. Your own gravity here. Turn that up to 300. Now we're heavier. Have a little bit less control over the character. But we have direct control still. Left and back we can strafe pretty easily. FOV so we can actually see what we're doing here. We can actually push back the camera if it's too close to the ball. We can actually push back the camera, this camera right here, if it's too close to the ball. But make sure when you push it back, you got to be careful. So it's always in the center of these yellow dotted lines. Okay. So this is like all X position now. Right. We have a ball here. Jump. And if you want a higher jump, you obviously have to have lower gravity in place and all of that stuff. I just wanted more of a realistic jump. And now we're going to add the double jump. The double jump is not working. I wonder why. I wonder why the double jump ain't working. I'm not jumping in the air. Are all the settings the same? No? Very confused that it doesn't work. Well, a double jump doesn't seem to be working. I don't know what I did wrong. Jump, 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 and then the jump breaks. Now the jump broke. Hello? Again, I am so confused here. Yeah, it's not working. What? Huh? Like, this is on leave. This is on hit. Right? On hit. So when we hit the floor or the ground, the jump button will turn on. Maybe increase this a little bit more to this one. I guess that breaks the jump. Incredible. Yeah, sometimes there's a lot of bugs with the editor here. Guess don't do a double jump if you don't want to break your skill game, I guess. Like the jump works automatically. Right. And if you watched my other tutorial, I created a double jump. It's the exact same motion. So obviously this collision is breaking, or something's going on with the editor. That's not really working well. And that can happen sometimes in the editor, where you say something to turn on, and it makes sense. What you're doing is turning on, and it doesn't work. And that's exactly what's happening here. You know, this script right here will not work until the first jump is made in the air, and then you can activate the second jump in the air. But when you hit the floor, right, this jump button will recycle again. The problem is this second jump will only work in midair. It will not work on the floor again. Jump. And then it breaks. You see, I spammed the button and then it broke. My jump does not work anymore. Which I don't understand at all. Because this is supposed to turn on the button in midair, and then it's supposed to shut off the button, and it will not work again until this button is on again. So it could be because of the this item that is not really, how do I say it? It doesn't really register well with the colliding with other objects. This object right here, I have no problems with. The problem is it's an invisible object, so you can't see it. So that's the problem that I have. I just kind of made a... Why is this not working now? Oh, we have another problem here that doesn't really work. Follow me. There you go, follow me. Follow me. Follow me, what is going on? And I'm guessing the reason why it's not following me, because this one... on. Now this one should follow me. Yeah, there we go. So this is just a following little animation I did, where the Pikmin is always going to be following me no matter what, or where I go. Okay, well, that's enough with the video. We're going to go on to the next chapter, and I'm going to teach you teleporting systems. So you can grab one of these. You can create a custom floor if you'd like. That's like 500 meters long or whatever. I'm going to make mine just a little bit right here. So if you touch the floor, you'll respawn if you fall off the map. It's actually a pretty nice little... like a checkpoint system, and then this is gonna it's another following OP again, right? And then it's gonna be targeted towards this right here, and this is going to turn on the checkpoint, shut it off, stuff. Physics type. You can also have an active portal as well for this. You can have multiple different respawn points, not just that one over there, if you fall off the map, of course. And then if your thing is too big, you can tie it to this, and then it will just be super large, you know what I'm saying? That's how you make checkpoints and make sure your checkpoint system is connected to whatever item you're trying to respawn, which is the ball here. Okay, so that's just going to be a quick little tutorial setup. We can test out the tutorial setup so you know it works. Didn't work. That's great. And the reason why it didn't work is because you got to make sure it's triggered by this. Or even better, make sure this following little thing is triggered. It can also trigger too, and it's triggered by object types. So you're going to be triggering two things at the same time. So if you fall off the map and your Pikmin follows you off the map, right? You both respawn. Well, you should respawn. I don't know why you don't respawn. What is going on here? I wonder. Being triggered by that and that. If that comes in contact with this, it will turn on this portal. This portal. I think my editor broke. This portal is turning on. It's going to teleport. It's going to teleport this object, and it's going to teleport this object. So let's teleport him. Come on, game. Why don't you work? When we fall there, it's going to teleport. Oh, it doesn't teleport. You gotta love that one. Gotta love that one. And I'm gonna have to say it's because of this. It's happening too fast. Let's set this to 100. It's still not working. I'm very shocked right now that this does not work. I am extremely shocked that this is not working. I am extremely, extremely shocked. Obviously, that's not going to work. But this one... Zero. Oh, maybe is it this? Very confused. Very, very. I'm just going to say screw it. I'm going to use a different object because this is driving me insane. So when you touch this area right here, it's the same exact thing. I don't know why the editor's not working properly. But you grab this, say, what object are you trying to use? That one and that one. This. So when we touch that, done. Now, if it works 100%, then something's wrong with the editor. No, it doesn't work. Dude, I'm teleporting. Please. Please. Work. Okay, screw the... object instances is the portal that we're using. And we are going to teleport this object. When this object hits that object, it should work 100%. And if it doesn't, I can transfer it to the other one and it works 100% as well. And it doesn't. So that is, for sure, there's something wrong with this collider right here. 100% something wrong with this collider. Has to be. So I'm actually going to see if it is the collider. That's actually straight up broken. So we're going to teleport this object instead, because it's going to always follow my object, right? And we're going to tell this thing to follow this instead. And see what happens. Well, if it works, that would be great. Of course. Okay, as soon as it touches the thing, it should respawn back. It doesn't respawn back. Doesn't respawn back. Why is it not respawning at this portal? They are linked. They are linked. Well, anyways, I'm just not going to add that in the video. If you want to watch a portal setup that actually works 100%, and it is the same thing as this, you can go watch the first person tutorial that I done. Because something is now right in the editor right here. It's actually pretty bonkers and actually pretty wonky. That's actually not very good at all. So instead I'm just going to set up a camera switch here. And then end the video there. And figure out why the hell that didn't work. So I'm guessing you shouldn't be using that sphere? Because it's bad? It has bad collisions? Like, I don't know. It's just, those are the errors that you'll encounter. You know, which is dumb. And you probably say, oh, Sane, you're just stupid. Well, you know what? I'll prove it to you that I'm not stupid. I'll load up the fucking next character that I set up over there on the other part with a checkpoint system, and it will work 100%, but this one does not. How do you explain that? How do you explain you set up the same logic for the exact same fucking script to power a different character on, and one character works with the exact same logic and the other character does not? That's just broken ass editor right there. That's a Trials Rising broken ass editor right there. And that right there gets on my nerves. Now, I was attempting to show you the other system, but the editor is completely broken, so I'm gonna have to show you this. Maybe this is gonna break as well. Do you see the negativity rushing through my veins now? When one thing doesn't work, I expect the whole thing breaks, right? And if it does, the editor's trash, right? LB is to switch cameras, and we're gonna go in the thing here. Say LB. Okay, we're gonna start. LB, 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 LB. Why doesn't LB work? I want to see why. We are selecting the camera for LB, which should be the other camera, and then revert back to the original camera. As soon as we start. LB, LB. I was going to show you how to animate a third-dimensional character, but that's all targeting animations. I'm guessing I'll get that to work, but I want to know why the teleporting system doesn't work. So now we're going to do the next chapter, which is we're going to link the two game characters together. We're going to use RB. Literally, you're going to do the RB for that. And we're going to tell the menu to turn on the button. Starting button. And we're just going to combine the characters together and see if the other teleporting system works. And I'll show you how to combine two game characters together, I guess. And I know that the first person looks exactly like the third person, but it's actually not. There's a little bit of difference in orientations and stuff as well. So, different. So we're going to swap between two different game characters. Now the teleportation system's not going to work because I don't know why it doesn't work. We're just going to swap between game characters though. It really doesn't matter. If you want the two game characters to follow each other, you got to follow each other during different teleporting. So you got to have one teleporter on one end and another teleporter on another end, and you can swap between characters. I'm going to come out of this skill game and load up a different map that actually works, and I'll show you about the teleporting system a little bit better. Okay, so this game character right here, we're going to switch. We're going to switch to this game character right here. And we're going to even set up another on and off here. Actually, we're going to turn it on and off. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to select between this game character and the other game character. We're not going to do any of this. Okay, so we have the character game swap. We're going to make sure we turn off every one of these buttons. And now this is where I recommend actually having an interval trigger, because you're going to break this setup for sure, 100%. Every time you're shooting weapons or swapping between weapons, make sure you have a 1 second swap so you don't smash the buttons and break the buttons. That's probably what I was doing with the jump button, the double jump, why it wasn't working, but I'm gonna have to say that this collider, the collision that surrounds this object, this sphere right here, is pretty bad because it doesn't register. So there are certain objects in the editor that have really bad registration, and that sphere looks like is one of them. I could be wrong. And then we're gonna crisscross the buttons. And we're gonna make sure this skill game is also on. All right, so let's do this. We also got to change the camera as well. Totally forgot about that. So we're going to be using the other first-person camera, which is one. And then we're going to go back to our third-person camera, which is this one. Okay, now we can swap between characters. And then we can say, as we swap between characters, we're going to turn off all these buttons when we come back to this player. Turn on these buttons, or just one of the buttons, because that switches the cameras, right? So let's say start. Moving around in this character, we can jump. We're gonna press RB. Move to, okay, something bad happened. RB. I'm so confused right now. We literally switched game characters. What is going on? The world may never know. We switched game characters, right? Am I right or wrong? I am right. When we switch game characters, that will happen. I think I know why. I'm an idiot as well. Okay, so let's take this, put it up here, take this, take this, put it up here, take this, put it up here, take this, put it up here. We're gonna swap these. Now the reason why that was happening is because there was a delay. We only want a delay for the on switches so we don't break the skill game. Should work a little bit better now. We want a delay to the other character, and now we can go the physics bubble is not moving. I'm very confused here. What is the physics bubble set to? Keep position. Game character. You'd think it's game character, right? You want it to be game character. You don't want it to be driving line. You want it to be game character. Because keep position will stay in the same position. It won't move. Oh boy, this editor, dude. Hard to use sometimes. Can I not use this? Because the physics bubble is not here, is it? I don't even know if the physics bubble is transferring or not. Which it should be. Because in my Metroid Prime it does. 100%. I'm just not gonna touch any of it. This is pretty annoying. So this is part of the guide you don't want to watch, possibly. So I know exactly what's going on, and I'm an idiot. Excuse my idiocy here. Don't touch this sphere. Make sure it's glued to target and still following the game character so you can swap between the characters. The reason why I'm an idiot, and I'll tell you why I'm an idiot just in a second right here. It's good to be an idiot, because if you're an idiot, then you actually learn from your idiocy. Is we didn't turn on physics for that character. And this is a learning experience to always acknowledge your mistakes. Now the teleporting, I would say that was a bug, 100%. Because I'm going to teleport with the other one, 100%. And if I don't, then it's a bug within the editor, because it's pretty bad. So we're going to turn on physics for here. Turn on physics for here. So what we're going to do here is when we turned on physics for that one, we got to turn off physics for the other one. Well, and then the same thing with the other one, is since we turn off physics for the other one, we got to swap and turn on physics for this other one as well. Yes. Physics on, physics off. Physics on, physics off. Okay, now we can start again. About heading 2 hours into the video here. Now we are moving the next one. So we can now swap back and forth. Gotta get rid of this gun. So we're going to teleport. They were double jumping. You see, we are double jumping. And I used the exact same script. Okay. So what you can do is you can follow the double jump from this video. From the last video, I mean. And from this script and see what the hell is going on. The portal system is not working though. I think it's based on if you die. But we're going to base it off something else. So, okay, so the portal system is based off when you die. So where is the portal system? Portal system is over here. Okay, let's say if you touch the floor. We're just going to make it if you touch the floor, you'll respawn in the portal system, okay? So we're going to say object instances, which is this. Okay. And then the floor, which is the ground. And we're going to make it so it's continuous. And we're going to say, we don't have to say anything. We just connected to here. So when we touch the floor, we should respawn. Now we can go to this character, touch the floor, respawn. Do you see what I'm talking about? We hit the floor and we respawned. We're going to go to checkpoint 1. We're going to hit this one. So when we touch the floor again, we'll respawn at checkpoint 1. So I knew it. It was the collision for the object. So you got to be careful what objects you use before you make your entire skill game. This object, for some reason, has a really, really bad collision. Because the teleporter does not recognize this object as a teleporting object. For some reason, it doesn't want to teleport this object or this object. And maybe it's because this system is glitched out, or this thing is glitched out right here somehow. Because I did get this from my favorites. Okay? So you probably have to build the whole teleporting from scratch. Again. Which is pretty dumb if you ask me. That could be the problem as well. Because when you pull items from the favorites, they tend to glitch out. So the portal system's working 100%. Now I want to see if the portal system is actually glitched out though. Well, there's no way of telling, right? I have to make a new portal system, right? So what I have to do is I have to select this, the new target here. And so in this tutorial, we started with a third-person setup with a jump and everything. And then we realized that this object can be potentially be very bad when it comes to jumping and stuff, right? But what we can also do is attach a rolling system to the object. So the rolling system is going to be the same thing with this object, and it's going to be this footstep system. If you watch my previous tutorial, this is going to be a footstep system. Instead of having a footstep system, you're going to have a roll system. So it's going to be a lot easier. So between your true and your false, you're going to have an on and an off, and you're going to have a constant rolling audio. So you're going to have a looping audio source, and you can make any sound a looping audio source. So when you're below a certain speed of the rolling, the audio will stop. So when you come to a stop from your character speed, right, depending which character it is, it will make a rolling sound, but make sure when you switch between game characters, you turn off the rolling sound. And when you finish, you also turn off the rolling sound. So this 2-hour tutorial should help you set up a third-person sphere skill game. And yeah. But when it comes to certain objects, just be careful what objects you use, because then you're going to run into problems. Because right now I just told you it could be because I've spawned something from the inventory, but I want to set up another teleporter to see if it actually works. So give me some time. So again, when you spawn a portal system, it's locked to the driving line. That's pretty annoying. Unlock it from the driving line. Create another portal. Create portal pairs. Make sure you turn off both portals. Turn off all of this. Make sure it's activated by object instances. Make sure the visibility is on. Make sure your advanced portal settings is keep orientation on. Both of them should be on, okay? Make sure it's a green and a red. Make sure the red is constantly following the player there. Make sure you have a variable data source. 2 of them. 1 for active portal. And 1 for advanced physics. Make sure your advanced physics is 3. Make sure your respawn can be anywhere on the map. You can put it there. We're gonna grab a state event, another state event, an on and an off. We're gonna grab a one of these and one of these. Make sure the ending is 3. Make sure this one is 1. Make sure this one is going to turn on the portal. Make sure this one is set to 50 milliseconds. And then make sure you have some sort of trigger. So you're going to have a trigger here. It's going to be the ground. If you touch the ground, you'll teleport. Make sure object instances is the ball. And make sure that's the teleporting. Now you can tie this with any object you'd like. You can have a giant 1,000 kilometer wall on the base of the floor, and when you touch that wall, you respawn. It's like a fall area, you know, like a custom fall area. So now let's see if it works. Let's see if it was a glitch in the editor. Okay, so it does work. Okay, so the problem was that there was a glitch in the editor. If you take stuff from the favorites, then it doesn't work. So this object is actually fine. So keep that in mind. So now the teleporting system actually works. So I'm gonna going through the video and actually editing the chapters exactly, and then the mistakes you can just skip on those by. Don't worry about those. It wasn't really my mistake. It was just the editor breaking because I grabbed the teleport. I grabbed this whole teleporting thing from my favorites, and then it didn't work because it was glitched out. So just build it from scratch. It's not really hard enough. Sometimes the favorites thing break. And same thing with the jumping. I don't know why the jumping ain't working. Maybe because we copied the whole thing here and then it stopped working again. So if you built it from scratch, it will work again. So remember, it's all about just reconstructing the code from scratch, and it will actually work. I was thinking about doing this, the orientations of the objects and stuff. So if you wanted to make like a 3D character like I have here, make sure you have different parts to the character. It doesn't matter what orientation they are, as long as the animation orientation is the same. You understand? Make sure you have a joint, a dummy object. So this is one whole glue group. So I'm going to start taking parts apart. So you see that this is one glue group, but then you move the whole thing. You see what I'm saying? So I'm going to, start redoing some steps so you see. So you have 4 joints here, the body and the head and whatever. Make sure all the coordinates are based on the following coordinate you adjusted. I recommend using a target object. So let's see this for instance, okay? So this is a targeting object additional to the third person. Let's say you wanted to make a third person a game, and if you wanted to lock your targets, this is my Pikmin character. Have you noticed that it's the same coordinates? The same coordinates as this character. So make sure your blue is upright, your green is horizontal, your red is horizontal, and your green is horizontal this way. So if you look at a compass, north and south, east and west, make sure your green is north and south. Make sure your red is east and west, and make sure your blue is up and down. That is the 3 dimensions of the horizontal of the animation you want to do. And then you can make target locking animations. So it doesn't matter if your arms are moving sideways and you're doing a walking animation, or an arms moving animation, or a head turning animation. You will always lock towards the animation you are walking towards in. So if you turn your body, the legs and the arms will turn exactly with the positions of the animation. So this is more like an advanced animation tutorial. And it's super easy. All you have to do is make sure the body is following the game character, which is the sphere. You can make the sphere literally invisible and then make it contact response, and it will still be a sphere character, except it will no longer be a sphere. So in a way, it's like having 2 game characters in one. So you have the sphere game character, and then you have the actual game character. And then you can actually swap between game characters across the map back and forth to having different game characters. And then you're going to have to use portals to make sure that this game character is portaling with the next game character, and that game character is portaling with this game character. So they're constantly portaling each other as they're following each other. But problem is, you're turning each one on, which we just did. So it's almost like vice versa. You're vice versa doing so many things, but they're constantly following each other. Let's say if you wanted to vice versa 10 different game characters at the same time, or if you wanted to have drivable vehicles that stay still on the map, you can just say, when my character reaches the drivable vehicle, I will take control of the drivable vehicle. When I exit the drivable vehicle, the drivable vehicle will still be there unless it exploded or it's damaged. That drivable vehicle will no longer be in use, and all the code will be shut off for that vehicle unless you respawn that vehicle, which is a totally different thing. And that's the script there. So here we took apart this character, and we saw that these characters are going to go together with different animations. So you would want to use following OPEs to attach the joints, and then following yaws to follow the game character. So pretty much what this is doing, it is you are taking the arms and legs to follow the orientation of the targeting object. So this yaw is following the orientation. So this yaw is targeting my player. The Pikmin character will always face that character. But again, you got to remember, your north, south, your east, and your west. Make sure your green is north and south, your red is east and west, and your blue is up and down. And your player will always face the proper coordinates that it's facing. And the script I used here was modify position, local, set rotation, and yaw to this. And so now you will borrow the coordinates of this orientation, and now you can set any object in the world to follow that exact orientation, but make sure that your axis on your glued object or your dummy object is the same axis what I'm telling you right now, which is the red, red, green, green, and blue, blue, which is the same one. And those can change based on the variables of this object right here. I hope that makes sense to you. Remember, the blue up and down, the green north and south, and the red east and west. You see this? You have this position. It will always follow the game character. Sometimes it will follow behind, means you have to revert this. You understand? So these are the axes coordinates that you need to use. So if you want to have several targeted options, so right here I have a Pikmin that's constantly following my player. The reason why I say use a directional force because it has a target option. What sucks is you cannot target multiple objects at once. So what you need to do is you need to create multiple targeting objects. So when the player is moving, let's just say you want to press A to throw the Pikmin to another target. It's going to target that, but then you can call it back, leave it stale, leave it idle, so you can make the character idle by turning all of these off. And the target options be like, okay, the Pikmin's going to follow that character, or the Pikmin's going to follow me, or the Pikmin's going to follow the palette, or the Pikmin's going to follow the engine part, or the Pikmin's going to follow that. So you're going to have several commands based on the following targets. So if you have like AIs, let's say if you have a group of 100 Pikmin, there's going to be a lot of tool cards in the sky, but for each individual Pikmin, you're going to have a set of instructions, and those set of instructions are following coordinates, and you can turn these on and off dynamically, and it won't break the game. And since the Pikmin will always follow the targets, it doesn't really matter. So an example where I could do right here is I can have multiple targets. Okay, so I'm going to have multiple of these monsters here, and what's going to happen is I'm going to tell it to follow all these targets. So it's following the player, but then one target is going to be targeted towards this creature right here, and then another target is going to be this creature right here, and then another target, it's going to be this creature right here. You understand? And then what I could do is I'm going to have a delay filter to test out, and this is a great way to test out your animations before you actually start the game, is you test out your delay filter, make sure everything is off like this, and then you can say, okay, we're going to turn on and off different components at one time. We're going to use the toggle, okay? So it turns them on and off. So we're going to toggle between 4 different things, which is the same thing. You understand? And we're going to put 1 second delays for each one of these. So it's going to be toggle, 1 second delay, toggle, 1 second delay, toggle, 1 second delay, toggle, 1 second delay. So we're going to create a constant stream here to do our testing. And this is more in depth. This is when you get into AIs and stuff. But this is like a simple following AI. You can make, let's say if you wanted to make zombies follow your player, this is how I do it. Let's say if you wanted to make enemies follow your player, flying enemies following your player, this is how I do it. If you want to make flying enemies follow your player, you can follow, you can follow the other tutorial that I did, which I'll show you right here since I'm even doing this. So I'm going to say, turn off this, turn off this, swap between this, swap between this. And then this is going to continue the infinite loop. And we're probably going to edit the time frame. We're going to say we transition after 3 seconds each targeting. But I recommend contact response, retarget, contact response, retarget, or create like a whistle system, which is pretty cool as well. So you can use an object, a pathfinder thing. You can glue this to your player and glue this to the AI, and this could be for flying enemies, so the enemy can fly towards you, go back, or fly forward, come back, and you're fighting like a constant enemy that's locked onto you, like a bird flapping its wings, moving up and down. But the problem is you can't animate these. You just have to follow OPE these to the targets, so they're falling between 2 targets at once, if that makes sense. You could go back to my first person tutorial and I show you how to have that turret follow my character while shooting falling bullets any orientation. So from here, we're going to have the different orientation, so you're going to see what I'm talking about. If it works, of course. That'll be nice. Okay, so we're going to start. So the first one's going to be on. The reason why it's not working is because I got too lazy here. On. Yeah, and it's going to get complicated because I want to create several transitions into several different transitions, if that makes sense. So what we're going to need here is okay, so when we turn on this, we're going to turn off the previous one. Turn off that one. Then we're going to turn off that one. Turn off that one. We're going to turn off one. Turn off this one. This is going to be a looping animation. So then we're going to calculate and see what it does here. Target to that one. Target to that one. Target to that one. And target to that one. Do you see it's going to constantly keep following the same one because we're telling it to follow that direction. Now right now it's getting confused. I don't know why. So that one right there is confused. So we got to figure out why. We told it to follow that one. We told it to turn off that one. We told it to turn on that one. And we got to turn off that one. We told it to turn on that one. So we got to turn off the previous one. We told it to turn on that one, the top one. We got to turn off the third one. Okay. Back to this one. We got to turn on the bottom one again. We got to turn off the top one. We got to turn on the second one. That means we'll turn off the bottom one, and it will just keep going down a loop, you see? So we're going to figure out what the hell is going on here. And the reason why is because we told it to go back to the original one where it should go back to this. Always test out your scripts. You're going to make mistakes. You understand? So now there's no confusion to what the brain is being told to do. We're told to follow this target. Then we will follow this target. Then we will follow this target. Then we will follow this target and we'll go back to this target to follow. Then we're going to go back to this target again. You understand? And it's just going to keep going based on the animation times. So you can select the AIs to follow different types of things and carry things for you because it's following that specific target based on the different trigger fields you set, the hit triggers. I mostly use hit triggers and the dynamic. turn these dynamically on and off and it won't break the character, and the physical Pikmin will always be following that character, right? Now, the one thing you have to understand is between each one of these, you have to turn on and off each one. So if you wanted to make the Pikmin turn its head each individual time, you're going to have to make 4 of these. Right? Because then you're going to turn the orientation for each individual one you see here. So again, it's going to be a little bit more challenging this time. So then we can have here. And you know, you cannot use a area factor, because an area factor does not have a target option. You can use an object pointer. You could use the camera trick, the camera target option, but this one's a lot simpler. So you're going to have to turn on and off these things. On and off. You're going to have to go one by one and turn each on off. So again, the top one's going to be off. So the top one is going to be off. The bottom one is going to be on. All these original ones are going to be off. The second one's going to be on. And then the last one's going to be off. You see how complicated it's getting already? So now we're going to say the third one's going to be on. So we all know that the second one is going to be off. Right? So we're going to turn off the second one. Now right here, we know that the last one is going to turn on. Now we know that the third one is going to be off. And if we revert back, we can see the changes. The last one's going to be on, and then the top one's going to be off. You see? So now they correspond between each other. So now we can actually test it and see what the hell is going on here. See, it's always facing that direction. Now it's going to turn and face the other direction. Now it's going to turn and face the other direction. Now it's going to turn and face me, try to push me because it's always facing me. The orientation is always orientated towards the orientation of the object it is looking at. So the object is always going to be looking at the desired object because I told it to look at the desired object based on several different points. Now the reason why I'm teaching you this is because you can turn these off on and off dynamically with certain buttons targeting to certain objects, and you can. So do you understand? So we're going to look at it again from different perspectives. So now the character is turning towards that specific object, no matter what, as it's cycling through the different targeting commands that I've been giving it. So the different targeting commands are now working exceptionally well. Do you see what I'm talking about? If you want to do animation targeting commands, you could use the camera setup, which is which instead of using the physical things, you can have several cameras, and those are going to be animated towards that camera. So you have this camera right here, okay? But remember, follow the orientation of the camera. All right, remember the red, the green, and the blue. This camera also has a target option. But for every target you do, right, the yaw positions are going to follow the position of each camera. So if you have 4 different cameras, let's just say, you're going to have one for each individual camera. So it's pretty much vice versa. The same exact thing is going to happen here. So doesn't matter if you select each individual object. It's these 4 arrows right here are physical. These 4 cameras are animations. They're the exact same thing, what is going on. And if you wanted to animate an object back and forth on this locked on line, you could use a path node event as well. So you can have 2 linked path nodes between each other. But remember, don't copy these because these break. You have to reselect them again to make more path nodes. So you can have a flying bird moving back and forth between this locked on line, because one path node is locked to the AI and another path node is locked to the other thing. So you can have enemies fighting enemies and enemies fighting yourself, and transitioning both between you and the other players based on different distances and different values. Do you see how this is getting very complicated now? But this is very possible in the Trials editor. You can have multiple different locked on characters and multiple different physical locked on characters and multiple different path node locked on characters, with path node locking on animations and distance values to determine, based on the distance between the enemies or the players or you or whatever, you can have different like moves or stages or boss stages or whatever. And yes, it is a load of work, but then in the end it's so rewarding because you have done it. So that is the additional, how do I say it? I don't even know what to call it. The target locking animation tutorial within the third-person setup, because I feel like you would want to learn how to do this eventually, because now you have different target locking stuff. Now this one's backwards. Now I don't know why that one's backwards. But eventually I think we will figure it out why it's backwards. Maybe because it's on. But it's supposed to be on in the beginning. Maybe we can turn it off, maybe. Yeah, this one's backwards. So, why is it backwards? Why is the first one backwards? I have no clue. Yeah, so the first one is backwards, but the other ones are not backwards. You guys got to figure out that one. But I think that is the end of my tutorial here. It's about 2 hours and 30 minutes long tutorial. I hope this helped. I know the ending was conjangled. It was literally conjangled, but I think you get the understanding between the different animation parts and animating different AIs and stuff, and locking them to the 3D space. I think this will open up a lot of doors for people when it comes to AIs and stuff like that, and figuring out what I did wrong here. And remember, the editor can break if you copy stuff and take stuff from your favorites, even though they're pre-scripted already. That just can break. And I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I didn't make the engine, but that's something that Red Links needs to take into consideration in the next installment of Trials. Maybe make easier tools so you can target and untarget objects. So you can target this object and target that object instead of doing all of this work in order to target objects. In a professional engine, there's a target object and an untarget object. Makes it so much simpler so much simpler than any of this. It's unbelievable how much simpler you could do it. So I'm saying the legend, and that's the end of my third-person tutorial. When I get good at making AIs running after you, shooting rockets at you, and whatever, when I'm comfortable with making AIs, I will make an artificial intelligence video, which will be very similar to what I just explained here with the animation lock coordinates, but it's going to be a bit better because it's not all conjangled and all this. This is only for following animations, like brain dead following animations. So if you want to make a brain dead AI like a zombie or something that follows a different object, this is how you do it. But if you want to make it more complex, then you have to make it more complex with different when it's close to this object, distance to this objects, blah blah blah. And that's probably the only way when it comes to complexity, when it comes to programming brains and math numbers, is the distances between objects and stuff. You can create different moves. Like if you're away from the player can start running, and if you're close by or whatever, just stuff like that. So I'm saying the legend, and that is the end of my 2.5-hour tutorial, which I'm going to say again. I'm going to be splitting this into different chapters. Obviously, the jump button, the second jump didn't work. I don't know why, but the everything else worked. Even the locking of the horizontal and everything worked. We got the control of the ball and the sphere and everything like that. And I taught you how to do swapping between game characters. So this is like the breakdowns, camera swaps, FOV, gravity system, third-person character setup, the moving system, the jump button, even some target locking animations. I explained you that, and even the teleporting system, which I did again, which I got it to work, and we found out that it's when we take something from favorites or copying it, it actually glitches out in the editor. So that's how I make first-person maps. The only thing you to do now is to tweak it. I showed you how it's done. Now you can blow my mind and say, hey, Sane, you were wrong. You can actually make this so much better just by tweaking it, and I want you to do that. I want people to make more first-person maps, more third-person maps, more trials maps, even enemies following trials, even ninjas where you have following laser guns that shoot you or something like that. And you can make them very consistently with this type of logic setup. So in the future, I'm going to continue making my own maps. I'll be experimenting with more AI integrated stuff, because I can make a pretty good AI can follow you, run around, target lock you, face you and everything, and shoot bullets at you from any direction and any angle up and down. So I think I'm good when it comes to AIs. I just got to make a proper AI tutorial in the future when I'm comfortable making one. But this should open a lot of windows up to you guys for making AIs, or at least the basic starts of an AI. Right? So that is about it. We can test out the game character one more time to give it the final test run. This is, we remove the ball, we jump. We can actually change the color of the ball as well. But you guys already know how to do that. I taught you how to do button setups. This guy's going to follow my character. Now he's going to follow the next character and follow the next character. Jump. Guy's gonna fall, he's gonna fall off the map, he's gonna go back and follow the other character. It's pretty fascinating, has a mind of its own. We built that mind together. It's pretty fascinating if you think about it. FOV system. LB to switch between the characters. Oh, this guy's pushing me off. Oh, we respawn though. We're gonna swap between the game characters. There's this gun that's following me around, shooting bullets. Doesn't matter what orientation I am. I'm stuck. That's great. Unstuck again. We can shoot the boss. Swap between game characters again. So now we're using a completely different game character. That's actually pretty awesome. So that is the first person and third person setup combined together. And I showed you how to swap between game characters and all that. And I want to show you one more map. Oh yeah, and also the unlimited timer as well, which you can watch in the tutorial. I added the unlimited timer here. I'm going to be showing you two maps, which is the ending chapter, Follow Your Dreams chapter, I'm going to call it. Or I'm going to show you my Resident Evil setup. My new one. And I'm going to show you my Metroid Prime setup. Just Skytown. Okay, so make sure you turn off the button every time. This is going to be a menu system again. I made the menu system, the invert, and then the kill zombies. And then when you start, the AI is going to be, I use the character with a walking animation that follows you everywhere you go. This is going to be a little walking animation I did. I go into the main menu. I have a menu selection. I can select a gun. I could say aim down my sights and fire. It's the same exact thing. I have this, which is a shotgun where you fire bullets. I have a knife where you can knife people, which is kind of bad. Probably redo that knife because it looks kind of bad. And then we have the grenade launcher, which you can kill zombies with. And the reason why you can't go up and down here is because I made it to where in the actual coding it's the left stick, like that. But I'm sure you could do it some other way, but it was too complicated, so I just did it this way. And then there's a healing system as well. So that's what I did here, and also there's also a saving system as well. You can use the save system with the typewriter saved, so every time you die you're going to start from this save point, and it uses up an ink ribbon, and then there's 9 values there. So that's what I did here, and this is all the code here. A lot of it, it's all conjangled, but it's the same exact thing what I've been teaching you guys. You could do whatever you want in the trials editor, make your own first person survival, which I'm doing here, some Resident Evil. And then I'm going to show you the Metroid Prime skill game, which is my new Metroid FPS, which is a lot better. Okay. The Metroid Prime should be more familiar to you guys, actually. So the Metroid Prime, again, is you have a walking animation. I have like a spamming button and then a button, just... And then you have a spamming, you have a different gun, different electricity shot, fire missiles, a double jump, a visor mode, FOV, then you have a ball mode. You can change the color of the ball. You have a boost ball, a boost option, which I forgot to tell you in the boost is very easy. It's like a run button. All you have to do is press it once and it propels you forward. And then this is just an effect that follows the player, and you just press X on it, and then you have the jump. So you could see how it's a little bit better, the ball in this one. And then there's going to be like, this is a effect that launches you, the effector, and it's going to launch you across the map, right? We can also have this. You hold LB. If you unhold LB, it will lock off. It's like a little spider rail, just like in the real game. There's half pipes. You can go off the half pipe. I actually played around with the friction here. So you can come up the half pipe and just jump up the half pipe. You see what I'm saying? And I make sure I tested out the double jump so I can do a nice double jump. I make sure when you hit this specific platform, you can do a quad jump. So you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 jumps. It's actually 6 jumps. So you could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. And I created a quad jump there. So I mean, you could do whatever you want here in the Trials editor. I even made a Salmus spaceship right here that I animated in the editor with several different pieces and decals and all that stuff. And this is like a little Metroid spaceship that I made. And then the script for the spaceship is all here, all animation wise. And this is the exact same one we did here with the third person. And then this is the swapping, different types of things. And then this is the jumping. This is for the jetpack animation, and this is for the 4 extra jumps that you did there. So sometimes it all depends on if the game works well or not with the buttons. And it should, though. That's my Metroid Prime. And that is it. That is it for the 2 hours and 40-minute tutorial. I'm Sin the Legend, and that is the end of my third-person tutorial. Hopefully you guys followed along. Hopefully it helps you make the best sphere type of skill game. Hopefully you get control of your ball. Again, it's all about testing, trial and error between the speeds, your gravity, and the weight of your character. You get that all right and you play around with those things, you can get higher jumps and higher distances and all that stuff. So I'm Sin the Legend, and that is the end of my tutorial. I'll see you on one of my final tutorials, and that's going to be artificial intelligence. So laters.